2, 3, 4. Top of the morning to you, my brothers and sisters. This is our 15th episode of the Good Morning Guys podcast. Thanks for joining us on this fine morning, afternoon, evening, or night as we continue discussing the game of life amidst the other games we love to play and watch. I am one of your hosts, the one and only Brazilian mountaineer, Lucas Ham. And also, to my right, the judge, jury, and executioner of fake news, Patrick Novosel.
You're all right there, boy.
Next to him is our resident renegade who can make you laugh in 3 words or less, Ronnie Johantis.
Somebody's going to listen to the intro of this podcast and be like, oh no, that's for somebody else. Because of your accent. It's going to be the first one they listen to. They're going to be like, nope.
And back to Irish. And last but certainly not least, a man with music in his heart and Doctor Who on his brain, Marc Boucher.
Hello, everybody.
If this is your first time joining us, I'm sorry. And welcome. If it's not,
Me too.
it was nice knowing you. Welcome back. Oh, man, I don't know what happened. I definitely went through like 3 different accents in that little intro. Let's jump right in, guys. Welcome to the show. It's great to have you with us on this 15th episode of the Good Morning Guys. We're going to start by giving a little shout out. And today's shout out is brought to you by our buddy on the Discord, Tim Pollen. Tim Pollen asked, who composed the GMG theme? It's really good. Some of you may know the answers to this. It is not Liberace, and it is not Beethoven, his 20th symphony. It is...
Will Ferrell.
Exactly, Will Ferrell himself.
No, it's actually my older brother, Scott. He is going to be 42 this Wednesday. He has been a musician.
Happy birthday, Scott.
Happy birthday, Scott.
Woohoo.
Yeah, he's been a musician for, since he was probably 15 when he got his first guitar. And he can play pretty much anything. He can play guitar, bass, drums, ukulele, you name it, he'll play it. And I had asked him early on, I was like, hey, we're going to start a podcast. Can you throw something together? And he threw it together for us. And like his first take, I'm like, this is it. This is our thing. So yeah, my older brother Scott did it. So yeah, I'll send the kind words to him. Thanks, Tim.
For sure. Some have said that I think the intro sounds a little inspired by Everything is Awesome, I think, the Lego movie.
It definitely sounds like it. If you put it in your head, yes, it does sound like it a little bit, for sure.
Everything is awesome. Good morning, guys.
I've never heard of that, but I thought when I heard it the very first time, I was like, kind of sounds like the Mighty Mighty Boss Tones. Like, that's their whole
Ooh, okay.
that whole style, you know what I mean?
I can see that. Well, wherever he got his inspiration, your brother Scotty Novosel, did a fine job. I love it. Wouldn't trade it for anything. On the iTunes review side, we had a little bit of a weird week. At one point, 2 of our written reviews disappeared and then returned a day later. No idea why, but they're still there, so all's well. And then also...
They were hiding.
They were hiding from us. They didn't want you to burn down your house or your Tartarus bookshelf or your collection of Dragon Ball Z anime DVDs, VHS. I don't know.
I don't have any of those.
Fair
Liar.
enough.
Fake news.
Yeah, fake news. Hashtag fake news. But we did receive another review this week, which officially is not up there. Woohoo! It's not officially up there, but I got picture proof that it was written and it was posted on iTunes. So someday it'll probably show up. But our friend on Twitter, Ash Ingram, over there in Scotland, she had this to say on giving us 5 stars. Thank you, Ashley. And she said, awesome guys, awesome podcast was the title, or is the title. She said, I stumbled across this podcast a couple weeks ago, and I've been listening to these guys every day since then. They constantly have me laughing. The topics they discuss I always find interesting, and they're great with interacting with their listeners on Twitter. If you want to feel something, I took a picture of it because I can't access it, so I can't actually finish the rest of it. But if you want to feel like something, feel like having a good morning, Listen
if you
to
want to
us.
feel ...
Listen,
Something.
listen, you'll feel something. So
We don't know what you'll feel, but you'll feel it.
you know what? This is what we encourage conversation. So if you want to find out the rest of her review, go find her on Twitter. She's one of our friends of the show, and she'd love to talk to you. And I hope that she can remember what she wrote and tell us about it. If you do want to keep in contact with us, in addition to Discord or Twitter, you can write us on email. Just a friendly reminder, thegoodmorningguys@gmail.com. And you can also call us. We will be waiting by the phone 13.5% of the time. All the other times, you can probably leave a message. 929-GMG-GUYS. You can find us there. And finally, to finish up our little bit of housekeeping, happy Wright Brothers First Flight Anniversary Day today. On this day,
Nice.
many years ago, the Wright brothers had their first flight there in Kitty Hawk, North Carolina. I don't know. Have you guys ever been there to Kitty Hawk?
I have been there.
I've
Me
never
too.
been to North Carolina, but I've been to North Kakalaki.
Oh, I knew that was
Ooh,
coming.
Nice.
Knew that was coming.
Shout out to that North Kakalaki. How could I forget? I don't even want to call it North Carolina anymore. So, an interesting
North
fact.
Kakalaki!
North Kakalaki. An interesting fact here in Brazil. They actually like to credit a man by the name of Santos Dumont, who is a Brazilian that lived in France, who some have said is the first to have an unassisted and sustained flight from the ground, or the first to fly in the modern sense before the Wright brothers, supposedly. And so they
What does that
argue
mean?
what that means. So it's really, I find it kind of complicated to explain. The way I was explained it, and find it a little easier to understand, they believe that the Wright brothers flew kind of like Angry Birds fly, as in you kind of shoot them in a slingshot, they get a little assisted, and then they kind of like fall gracefully, and it looks like they're flying over a long period of time, but they're not really. And then Santos Dumont actually had a flight that went from the ground into the air without extra assistance other than using an engine of some kind that got his plane lifting off the ground. So
Gotcha.
it's
Now I'm a little confused, to be
arguable.
honest with you, because Ohio license plates, you can get one that says the birthplace of aviation. Does that mean it's because the Wright brothers are from here, but the actual first flight took place?
It's because
the
there
history
are
behind it?
disagreements as to where it actually is.
that is correct. There are disagreements on what
actually-
flight actually is.
It originated on Krypton.
I believe it's an old wooden ship.
Yes, the Tartarus.
Speaking of Krypton, I have something to say later on, but spoilers.
We have no idea what you're going to say.
Yeah, stay tuned for that.
Stay tuned for Mark talking.
It's relevant to a certain person on this podcast
Fair enough.
watching
A teaser.
or not watching a certain movie.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
no.
Oh, well,
no.
With that being said, I think that's a perfect
I wonder who
segue.
that is.
I think we need to jump into what's new news. Ronnie, tell us something good, my friend.
All right. I'm going to start off by saying I did not watch Superman.
Big surprise. For the 9th time in a row, Ronnie has not watched
Are we
Superman.
up to 9?
9,
You know
my
what? You know
friend.
what? My parents used to say to me, they said they're not mad at me. They're disappointed in me, which was worse. So I'm disappointed. Ronnie.
Which one would you handle better? Somebody being mad or somebody just being disappointed?
It
I don't
depends how
care
much
about
do I
either.
love them.
I'll just roll with the punches.
No, I did not watch Superman. What I did do, I finished the story in Red Dead Redemption 2, which I did the week before, but this past week I've been trying to go through and basically do missions that I missed throughout the game. So it allows you to go back and complete the missions that were still previously open even after you beat the story, which is pretty cool.
Spoilers,
'Cause I was
you get to
thinking-
do that as Clint Eastwood, just so you know.
Oh, yeah, as Clint Eastwood, just so you know.
Old Clint Eastwood.
Yeah.
You get to do it as Arthur Morgan. I don't even know what you're talking about. So anyways, I got to a point where I was like, okay, I'm going to go ahead and try the online out. So, excuse me, I did actually go and did the whole character create thing, went through a few of the first missions, And now I believe I'm to the point where I can just free roam and basically join up or do whatever I want to do. So I think I'm going to start kind of going through that, seeing how that is. It does suck at the beginning of the game for the people who have started it. Money is not easy to come by. It's rough. Like, I mean, in the game when you would like loot somebody, you get like $1.50 to like, I don't know, $5. Now it's like you either get no money or like 10 cents. So the money is like extremely hard to come by when you first start the game.
Hey, Ronnie, guess what? You have gotten on to Red Dead Online. Do you know how I said that there was like a small window for you to log in and play, and you get 15 gold bars?
I did just get that, actually.
They have extended it. Oh, you got it. Awesome.
Well, our good buddy Eric, or Bangle Man, as a lot of people know him as, tipped us off to the 15 gold bar event, so I definitely logged on to get that. So I'm not completely broke anymore. I'm just close to being completely broke. But other than that, this week, I did not do very much. I did take the day off today and was out Christmas shopping most of the day. So I was able to get most of it done. I think the rest or the remaining gifts I need to buy are definitely coming from Amazon.
So, Ronnie, while you were Christmas shopping, did you have a temptation to mosey on over to the local saloon because you've been playing Red Dead so much? And it's funny that, this comes to mind. Derek Broughton had a question for us. He says, I know you guys have been playing a fair amount of Red Dead Redemption 2. So my question is this. After being immersed in this cowboy tale, has any of it trickled into real life? Like, has anyone bought a ranch or rode a horse into work, perhaps? Started smoking Marlboro Reds? Do tell.
Those are all pretty extreme things.
Maybe just a little bit.
Well, a deer did run into me the other day,
Did you skin it right there on the side of the street?
What I've been doing, what really has caught on, earlier in the podcast when you introduced me, I'm like, you're all right there, boy. That's what I've really taken that on, because every time you want to get your horse back up to speed, to calm him down, Arthur's always like, you're all right there, boy. It's okay, boy. And so I've started to say that to my son.
Oh my gosh.
He gets hurt, like, you're all right there, boy. You're all right there, boy.
And Clark's like, Dad, why are you talking like that?
He does give me some furrowed brow look.
It is funny because the game's if you're playing most nights, it does consume your thoughts. You think about it randomly throughout the day. I was driving, I was on my way to work, basically sitting in traffic, and I'm passing on the highway like some roadkill. And my first thought was, that's probably a poor pelt. So in the game, if you're not familiar with it, there's poor, good, and perfect pelts, and that depends on how much you can sell them for. So it's just and I just kind of laughed to myself, wish I could say that out loud to somebody who else has played the game, but no, it does. It does kind of invade your life. I don't know about, as far as buying a ranch or starting to smoke cigarettes. That's pretty extreme there, but I don't get that deep into character, I guess.
Yeah, as long as I can have a cigarette or smoke a cigar and it improves my dead eye, no, I'm not smoking.
Well, I haven't played any Red Dead Redemption 2, but I remember a year or two ago when I played Fallout 4 for a while. I remember going to the grocery store, and when I was walking in, I saw a broken light to the left of the entrance on the ground. And it took everything within me not to walk up to it and kind of look inside to see if it had some loot. I wanted to loot the light inside because it looked just like a broken light that you would loot out of in Fallout 4. So I've been there.
Nice.
Been there, Derek. So Derek had another question that I don't think we're going to be able to answer, but we can sure try. Rank your favorite World of Warcraft expansions from worst to best and explain why.
That one. Because it's the best.
Oh, I was going to say they're all the worst because I have no idea what they mean.
I, too, have never
played a single World of Warcraft game, so, I can't help you there, unfortunately.
Moving on.
Fair enough. Patrick? Or no, sorry. I don't want to cut off Ronnie too early. We got into the Red Dead talk and the craziness. Ronnie, did you have anything else you wanted to share? I think he... has left the building. We can't hear him.
Oh no,
Ronnie!
that's so sad.
Oh no, muted first time that happened. I was gonna. my comment actually was when you asked me if I'm good or not. I said all quiet on the Western Front, and now I realize it was
Literally.
You were
quiet 'cause I was
literally
muted.
all quiet on the Western Front.
But no, that is all for me.
All right, fair enough. Patrick, how about you, buddy?
Well, this past week, my brother Scott from Colorado, who has done the intro to the podcast, he came in town for a few days, so I was able to hang out with him. On Saturday, we actually had the entire family get together. We had a nice dinner, hung out for a little bit. So that was actually pretty nice. I only get to see my brother Scott maybe once a year, if I'm lucky, twice a year. Flights aren't cheap, kind of thing. So we don't see each other very often. But it's always cool when he comes in and hangs out. And then on Friday night, we took our family out to this Holiday and Lights. It is like one of those Christmas light shows where you can drive through instead of walk through. So we actually drove through a local county park and saw all the different lights that they had. We have done that maybe, I would say, the last 4 years we've done that, maybe 5. But this is the first time at the end of the Holiday and Lights, there is a welcome center, and they have a whole bunch of stuff going on in the welcome center. This is the first time we went early enough to where it wasn't packed and anything. So we saw Santa was there. There was like an Ebenezer Scrooge Muppet show. There was like professional carolers there. There was a little train set that my son was enthralled with. So it was actually pretty fun to actually do that. Plus it was like 45, 50 degrees outside. So it was actually pretty nice. Yeah, it's like when we're driving through, we had the windows down a little bit, and the seats were down in the van, so the kids were just running around in there, going from side to side to see all the different lights that are on both sides of the van. So, yeah, that was pretty fun. I like when we do that. The kids, they light up. They get candy canes and everything. So we make a big thing out of it. So that was pretty fun.
Patrick, do your kids, do they like Santa Claus? Like sitting on his lap, getting their picture taken and all that jazz?
Let's see. I'm trying to think if they have ever, you see the kids that cry when they sit on Santa's lap. I don't think my kids have ever done that. I know my daughter, the first time that she sat on Santa's lap, she looked at him weird, who is this guy? But neither one of them have really cried. So, as far as liking Santa, they like Santa, but they don't fear him or they don't cry when they're sitting on his lap. So, is that what you were asking for?
Yeah, I was just curious to see what your kids are like, because my kids have an aversion to Santa. I think my son would probably cry if I forced him. My daughter would just be very uncomfortable. She sat on Santa's lap, I think 3 years ago, and hasn't done that since. I remember it was the first and last time, and after she sat on his lap, and then I was talking with her, I was like, "So, what'd you talk to Santa about?" Because she talked to him for a good 30 seconds to a minute. And she pretty much was just like, "That's none of your business. That's between me and Santa." I'm like, "Okay."
Oh gosh,
that's on a need to know basis.
And I don't need to know. So moving on from that.
Business, Dad.
But since then, she could care less. I mean, it doesn't help that I think my kids don't have any kind of mystical. They don't believe in Santa, and we've never encouraged it. We tell them to kind of respect the kids that do believe in Santa. They've been talking about it a lot this year, being these kids believe in Santa Claus. I'm like, just let them believe. It's, some people like to have fun with it and all that jazz, but they don't really. They could care less.
Do your kids get scared sitting on any of the lap, Easter Bunny lap, or I don't know. Is that it?
The Easter Bunny's not a deal here. Other than there's no other laps. They like to sit on my lap. They like to sit on my wife's lap, but they're not a real big fan of strangers and just randomly walking up to them and being like, "Hey, what's up? Let's hang out." So
it's not a big turkey at Thanksgiving they can sit on the lap of.
Yeah, nope.
The turkey thing.
Sitting on a turkey lap.
So we did that, and then on Sunday, we had a concert at our church. I don't know if you've heard of the singer Yancey. She's a Christian kids rock kind of singer. I think she does like a solo. She does a lot of all of her music is done in the background. There's no other live music other than her and her guitar. So that was kind of cool. She came in. She sung a lot of Christmas songs. She sang one non-Christmas song, and then all the kids from pre-K up through elementary school were able to get up there on stage with her and sing a few songs with her. So that was kind of cool. My daughter really loved that. But my son, man, my son is one of those boys that you give him an inch and he'll take, one of those guys. He'll take, you give him an inch and he'll take a mile, right? So, he was wild, and it was, man, but he was having a good old time. It was kind of hard to keep him. I mean, when you're having like a bunch of 4-year-olds up front in front of music that's really loud, how can you expect them to sit down and be quiet? It's almost impossible. So we weren't too mad about it. But I thought that he was going to run on stage at one point, and my wife got up from her seat and ran around to make sure that he corralled him a little bit. So he stayed near the
That's
queue.
a missed opportunity. That is a missed opportunity. That would have been awesome.
I was really
You should have had
hoping-
your phone out to film it.
I did have
He
my
could have
phone out.
crowd surfed.
I was ready. I was absolutely ready for it. Crowd surfed. But yeah, so that was fun. That's what happened in my weekend. On the gaming front, like Ronnie had, I beat the Red Dead story, including the epilogue. So that was an awesome ride. I'm still playing in the game, still exploring, still doing all the other side missions, side things that continue the game. So
Right.
I've been doing that. Played a little bit more Overwatch. I'm up to 55 loot boxes. So the
Look
goal
out.
is to get to 75 loot boxes by the end of the year. And once I get to 75, Eric Thompson is going to pitch in and buy my last 25 loot boxes to get to 100.
Are you serious?
Whoa.
Yeah, so
snap.
and he had said that he was going to buy the remaining loot boxes I don't get by the end of the year because I did that hostage challenge. And I had to follow his certain rules or whatever till the end. I couldn't drink anything. I had to do certain things. So he's going to buy the last 25, and then once I get to 100, hopefully I would say maybe December 31st, January 1st, around there, I'm going to stream it, unbox them, and then after every loot box, I'm going to tell a dad joke.
Yeah, you are. That's what I like to hear.
Nice.
I look forward to
And
that.
it's not going to be any normal dad joke. These are going to be themed dad jokes that I have already all set, and it's going to be fantastic. Some of these dad jokes you've never even heard. So these are
There's
going
going
to
to
be
be 100 of them.
the 100 dad jokes you've never heard.
Oh, that's
So
that's- sounds like a challenge. I don't know if that's possible.
Ooh.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Challenge accepted.
That's right. Cool, man.
Yeah, and then I got another blackout win with Eric from Bingo Man 09.
Look out.
And that's about it. That's all for me.
All right. How about
Mark?
you, Marky Mark?
The week itself was kind of status quo, but this weekend, my wife and I went to go see Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
Oh, no way. Nice.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Nice.
I would recommend it to anybody. The animation is phenomenal. The story is great. All the voice acting is awesome. There's all sorts of subtle nods to different Spider-Man things. The Spider-Man mythos and all that kind of stuff, and they just did a great job with it. And it's hilarious. It's funny. So I definitely recommend that you go out and see it if you're a Spider-Man fan, or if you're a casual Marvel fan, or if you got kids that enjoy Spider-Man and superheroes. I definitely recommend you go see it. It is definitely a Marvel movie, so stick around to the very end.
How was the
that.
dynamic between Peter Parker and Miles Morales in this movie?
He basically was the mentor to Miles as much as possible. Obviously they had plenty of their funny moments. I can't really say too much without giving the story away. But a lot of it was very funny, and not just the relationship between Peter and Miles, but also the other spider people, whatever you'd like to call it, Spider-Man, spider people, because there's a female as well, not just men. They called her Spider Woman in this storyline, but they actually, for a while, she was known as Spider Gwen, but they recently changed her name to Ghost Spider, which I actually like a lot better than Spider Gwen. But they called her Spider Woman in this movie. But anyway, so yeah, they had her. They had Spider-Man Noir, which he's voiced by Nicolas Cage, which is amazing.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
Sweet.
Nick Cage back at
it. He's gonna steal the Declaration of Independence.
Wait, so Spider-Man Noir is stealing the Declaration of Independence?
Yes, absolutely. That is the storyline of the movie.
National Treasure hybrid.
Spoilers.
No, but yeah, the voice acting in it was awesome. The dynamic between all the characters was great. So yeah, definitely go out and see it for sure.
Cool.
So my wife and I enjoyed that, and that night we actually went to. So my wife's side of the family, they do every year what they like to call Trim-a-Tree. And it's basically just an event where all the family gets together at her grandparents' house, and they bake all sorts of food, actual finger foods and stuff, and like all sorts of desserts like fudge and cookies and all that kind of stuff. And everybody brings food, and we have just enjoy time together, and then we try to help decorate their Christmas tree that they have in the front area of their house. Is kind of a family bonding time, and also we're kind of sort of helping put their decorations up, but that's okay. Yeah, it was a fun time. We very much enjoy it every time we're there. And we also put our names in the hat for Secret Santa, because our family does Secret Santa every year. So we got to take part in that, which was awesome. The drive back home was not so fun because we got stuck in a detour, and the detour went forever. Like, it added an extra probably like 30 minutes.
Yeah. Because
we got so confused by the detour. So we didn't get home till like 11 o'clock, which was kind of crazy. Because they live in North Kakalaki, which is about they live about an hour and a half from us. So added an extra half an hour to that. But no, it was a great time. And then Sunday night was dinner with the fam, with Kristen's family, and after not playing for a month, we jumped back into some Exploding Kittens.
Boom,
which was awesome.
Them vomiting kittens,
vomiting
cats.
Yep,
at it again.
And so that's pretty much it for me. On the gaming front, obviously, I think I mentioned it last week that I beat Spider-Man. I want to say I did. But yeah, beat Spider-Man. So now I have moved on, jumped on the God of War train.
Boy.
And I've been very much enjoying that. I have no idea how far I am into the story. But I've been playing for quite a while. But I am loving the game. I'm very much enjoying the story. And
could you try to say what mission you're on without giving away spoilers? Like, change the names?
The one person did the stupid thing and they got taken to the very bad place. Does that make sense?
Oh, okay. You're about 2/3 of the way through. That sounds good.
Okay.
Yep. that bad place, man. Let me tell you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that was so stupid what that stupid person did.
Absolutely.
So stupid. But It's part of the drama. It's good times.
This is true. But yeah, and I actually did something I haven't done in a very long time. I stayed up pretty late last night playing God of War, and I paid for it this morning. So I've been kind of tired. But in any case, that is pretty much my week at a glance. So Lucas, how was your week, sir?
Yes, sir. My week's been pretty good. My family has officially started their vacation as of today, and I have been joining in on the fun.
I saw photos.
Yes. So, starting with last week, we finished out the week. My kids actually, they started their vacation on Friday, so I hung out with them on Friday. And then my wife came home Friday afternoon and just took a big sigh of relief after all her grading and finals were finished. And we started a little bit of a Marvel challenge. And leading up to Infinity War Part 2 in April, the next 20 weeks, 19 weeks, we're going to be watching all the Marvel movies. I know a lot of people did it. I think Pat was one of them. Did it last year leading up to Infinity War. And I guess I called it Infinity War Part 2. It's actually Endgame. Oops. But leading up to Avengers Endgame, we're going to be watching all 20, I think 19 or 20 Marvel movies. And so far on Friday, we watched Iron Man. And then tonight, we actually watched Incredible Hulk. And I will say one of these movies held up pretty well. And the other movie did not hold up very well. Can you guys guess which one held up really well?
Iron Man.
I was going to guess the Incredible Hulk did not.
Yeah, we've had a number of movies with Mark Ruffalo, and I just have to say that now that I've experienced Mark Ruffalo's Bruce Banner and the more current animated Hulk, the animated Hulk and in the Incredible Hulk, and Edward Norton's character is super bland and it's super weird, and so I can't say that. Actually, this is probably the third time I've watched the movie, and this is probably the least I've liked it watching it this third time. After watching all the Marvel movies now, and kind of they've just gotten a really good flow, especially in Phase 3 with Infinity War, and then before that with Spider-Man: Homecoming and all the others that have gone around that time. Incredible Hulk was just really, the jokes kind of fell flat. It kind of felt like they took themselves a little too seriously. And like I said, Edward Norton had no personality, and he actually didn't really even do anything scientist-like. Like he relied on another scientist in the movie to help him with his problem. He wanted to get a cure for his Incredible Hulk disease. The only thing I think he did as a scientist was he fixed some kind of circuit in a factory so that they could keep running soda pops through a factory machine, and that was about it. Iron Man, on the other hand, Robert Downey Jr. is so funny. He's just his humor has not changed over all these movies. It's gotten better, I think, with age, but it's still even in Iron Man 1, his humor was good. I will say there were a number of times that I realized that what he did in the movie would put him in the hospital immediately, like shattering all the bones in his body. Like when he escapes from his desert prison in the Middle East and he lands in the sand in his original Iron Man suit. Like he lands in the sand like it's water and he's like up to his neck in sand. In real life, that would have just broken his body into a million pieces and he would have died, and that would have been the end of Iron Man. But he didn't.
Yeah, well, it's a comic book movie, so
it is. But
go with it.
It just feels like they've gotten a lot better at kind of covering up the not real things. Like it just, I don't know, for whatever reason, watching this first one, it just felt it. I could feel it more like, man, he should have died right there, or I don't know, they should have gone to the hospital immediately, but he just walks away from it. And that, like you said, it is comic book movies, but it was just weird. I hadn't watched the movie in a long time, so it just hit me while I was watching. But overall, it's really cool to kind of get to go back and watch the movies. I will say that these first two movies are on DVD, and after watching lots of Blu-ray movies since the last time I watched these movies, I definitely need to upgrade my movies to Blu-ray so that they're a little more visually appealing, as it were. Other than doing that, today we went to the beach. It was a beautiful day today, 90s. I definitely got a very nice sunburn. For those that can see it in the video, those that can't see the video,
lobster.
I have lobster shoulders, and I sent a picture to my boys today just to show them how December is here in Brazil, and some of them were not happy. They had choice gestures to throw my way of love. And we'll not give any more details of that. But it was just a day trip. The beach is about an hour and a half from us, so we just drove out to the beach and hung out part of the morning, most of the afternoon. And I taught my kids how to body surf. That was really fun. And then my kids proceeded to have a sand fight, and nobody cried. They actually had fun throwing sand at each other. And, sometimes you just can predict when your kids are going to do something stupid and one of them's going to end up crying. But they didn't. They survived, and I got it all on film. I didn't stop them from throwing sand at each other's faces. It was good fun.
You were just hoping something wrong was going to happen with you taking a video.
There's definitely video proof of Mindy and I taking bets on who was going to cry first. So I can't say that I was hoping that someone would cry, but I definitely expected it to happen. On the gaming front, I finished God of War this morning, and it was glorious. That game has hopped all the way to the top. It is my game of the year for sure. I know last week we declared our games of the year, but this one snuck in 20 days, 15 days before the end of the year. I'll admit, a few weeks ago when I jumped into it after Spider-Man, it was a bit of a shock to the system. The pace was a lot different. I needed my webs when I started as Kratos, and I really needed to find some way to kind of bring the bad guys to me. Eventually, some gameplay things happen, and you're able to kind of get faster and do some different things. And the atmosphere was definitely different, but overall, I loved it. It was awesome. I love mythology. And I didn't know very much about Norse mythology before playing this, and it was really cool. And the father and son dynamic, as Patrick, I think, mentioned last week, and I think we talked a little bit about last week, that part of the story and just everything around that was nice. It was really fun. So with that, we have a lot to talk about, boys, because we have a new format in the show this week. We decided some time ago that every episode that ends in 5 is going to be a potpourri topic show where all 4 of us bring a topic and we discuss it for a portion of the time and kind of do like a round robin, talking about random things, kind of whatever comes to mind, comes to heart that we want to talk about. So we're going to jump into that. Sound good? All right, to get us warmed up with our topics today, before we jump in, Sheldor wanted to know, was there any time you guys were nervous starting the podcast, either being recorded or having to open up to answer very personal questions? Tell us about it, Patrick. Has this podcast ever made you nervous?
No, not necessarily like talking and being asked questions. I think it was more of like the technical side that made me nervous. Trying to figure out how to edit the podcast. That was my piece of anxiety for me because I've never done anything like this before. So I was just learning on the fly. I mean, if you go back to our early episodes, I mean, you can hear the audios like all over the place. Some are quiet, some are loud, the audio for some of our mics just didn't sound right. Hear a lot of echo and everything. Doing the editing was, I think, the biggest, nerve-wracking thing for me. I can talk to people, so that's no problem. I can answer questions, no problem. I mean, I really have nothing to hide. So, I mean, if you want to go back to the confessions episode, I really have nothing to hide. Yeah.
Yeah, and if that didn't make you nervous with all your Pop-Tart confessions, I don't know what else would make you nervous.
Yeah. I'm an open book, so yeah, no problem here.
How about you, Mark, or Ronnie? I looked at Ronnie but said Mark.
It looks like you're looking at all of us on this computer.
Spoilers.
No, I think for me, the I think the part that did make me nervous, because I was a little nervous when we first started, is I think most of us were getting into something completely new that we didn't know how it would turn out, and you don't know what you can say, how it's going to be, and I think you can pick that up. If you go back and listen to the first couple of episodes, I think you'll find us the podcast in general is just more. We were more conservative as individuals. Maybe not saying as much or things that we would say. I think it's just getting into something completely unknown. That's what made me a little bit nervous.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think that was the biggest thing, is kind of taking the first leap, of doing the first episode, just because we didn't really know what to expect, and we didn't know how to do it at all. So it was kind of like a trial and error kind of thing. So I guess that was the only part I was really sort of nervous. After we kind of got our footing and really found our format, it's gone just fine. So I think that nervousness has kind of gone away.
Yeah, for sure. I kind of see this time as, us kind of, like I've talked about before, gathering around our water cooler, the watering hole, just talking together, hanging out, talking about our lives, sharing our stories. I will say that after last week, though, I get nervous every time I sit on this couch because I think a cockroach is going to come my way.
Gross.
Part of me wants it to happen because I want to see the look on Ronnie's face, because he's told me, he's confessed in confidence that
actually makes me nervous.
It makes him very nervous.
Legitimate fear.
Another random quick question to answer from our buddy Artic Warlocks. I'm just getting home from work. Which side of the garage do you park on, and why?
I have 2 single-car garages, so I park in the outdoor one, and then the van goes on the indoor. So I don't know if that's because our kids, when we're getting them buckled in and everything, we don't have to go outside and experience the elements of the weather. So yeah, that's how we do it. We don't have a 2-car garage.
I think most of us too probably would, give up the better spot to our spouse or significant other. I mean, we're all guys here. It seems like the chivalrous thing to do, right?
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, yeah, of course. Every time.
Right, Melanie, if you're listening.
Yeah,
right.
I would probably say the same thing if I actually had a garage.
I mean, on my part,
I
only have 1 car. We only have 1 car, so I do the chivalrous thing, and I let them take the car, and then I walk and take public transit everywhere I go. So for us, when it comes to parking in the garage, we park that baby right down the middle so that my kids don't hit the side of the garage with the car door or, stuff like that. So I'm a moderate kind of person, right down the middle, no extremes.
Yeah, because when those kids open those doors, I mean, they open it with like reckless abandon.
Oh,
they don't
man.
care if they're gonna hit. Just there's gonna be dings in those doors for sure.
Let me tell you, parking areas here are at least a quarter the size of parking areas in the U.S. So like when you park a car, every single time I'm like, kids, open the doors slowly, please. And I'm always watching them because there's some people here that they just open their doors. Like I think just earlier today, when we went to the beach, some lady just opened her door and just bumped our car. And my wife's like looking at her like, are you serious? You're not going to say anything? Just bump our car? And then she just walked off. We're like, all right. I looked. There was no mark. So no blood, no foul. But
what kind of cars do you have in Brazil? Are they different? Or do you get like a lot of like foreign cars, or do you have like a lot of Americanized?
Yeah, there are so many cars that I still cannot pronounce. Like we have a lot of. I mean, of course, we have the typical ones. We have Chevy. I mean, we do have Chevys. We don't have any Fords, but we have a lot of Japanese. We have Chinese cars. A company called Jax. We have French like Renault. And
are those like
Kia.
Ringling Brothers style cars? Like, do they?
Oh yeah, they're like super small, and then like 20 people just
in
jump
those
out.
parking spots.
Oh yeah,
I think those little Shriner cars.
When you see a full size pickup truck, it's huge. It looks like a giant is driving down the street. It's crazy. Most of the cars are a lot smaller here than they are in the U.S. for sure. So with that, Eric Thompson wanted to know, how do we get back on the right track?
Boy, I couldn't be more confused.
I had to finally read an Eric Thompson question. Every time we post about questions, he asks the most off the wall questions. God bless him and his weird questions. I just had to read that one. So, Eric, we don't really know how to get right back on track sometimes. Sometimes we don't. Sometimes we just make it up as we go.
Sometimes it's off the rails. Yeah, this is an off the rails podcast.
That is correct. The final random question, just to warm us up for our topic, and then we'll hop over to. I think we're gonna hop over to Ronnie first. So Ronnie, be ready.
Get ready,
Ronnie. Super listener Chad at Chad Fackler 1. He wanted to know. So, you have the day to yourself, no wife, family, kids, or chores, just you and some gaming. What is your go-to, unhealthy or not, junk food of choice? Mine is either crunchy, fiery, hot Cheetos or taco flavored Doritos. Ready?
Wait,
go.
is that yours or his?
Oh, sorry, I was reading his. Chad's are fiery hot Cheetos and taco flavored Doritos. I'm gonna go first because mine's easy. I do not have a. Wait. Well, I don't know if this is if he's connecting to gaming. If I'm gaming, I don't have a snack because I don't like to get food particles on my controllers. But if I'm just looking to get some junk food and just snack a little bit, my go-to is this good old-fashioned nacho cheese Doritos. So, Patrick, go.
Well, for me, I do his Flamin' Hot Cheetos are straight to my heart because I do Flamin' Hot pretty much anything.
You steal
And
his
if I'm gonna
Flamin' Hot Cheetos? That's not cool, man. You need to get your own bag of Flamin' Hot Cheetos.
Yeah, I go to his house. I'm like, hey, can I borrow some? Because I'm about to game. I know you don't live near me.
How do you borrow food?
Yeah. Well, no, please don't explain how you borrow food. That's going to lead to like another Fallout discussion. We don't need that.
Yeah.
Some kind of theft arrest.
No, but I do the Flamin' Hot Funyuns. And that's what I do not care about getting my controllers all grungy and gross.
You are disgusting,
because I have
good sir.
I have
disgusting.
two controllers. I have my controller, which I don't care, and then I have like a guest controller. And the guest controller is really, really nice because it has the Married to the Games decal on it.
Ooh, look out.
So when people
Fancy.
come over, they're like, oh man, I get the nice controller. Yes.
But your controller is just like this grungy,
Yeah.
like it's like orange from
Oh,
Cheetos,
that's
like
so
and stuff.
gross.
If I had my controller right here, oh here it is. So
Please
you can.
don't.
I don't know if you can see. It's kind of like black. It's
That's not camo.
It's actually a different
That's
color.
not camo controller. That's like, is that
No,
supposed to be a
that's
white controller?
That's a silver controller, and then there's all my grossness on it. Yep.
Oh,
This is
dude.
my controller.
Why?
It looks like you've never washed
That-
your hands before.
It's nasty.
No, I don't wash my hands. I mean, the right side of my jeans. You know that's where all the stuff goes.
Looks like it all goes on the
Yeah,
controller.
I'm pretty sure it does.
Oh, there's a Cheeto on here. All right.
Ronnie, how about you? You
Kind
got a
of
junk
full
food of
Cheeto.
choice?
Yeah, I think I like any kind of Cheetos. Like that is like the perfect like snack for gaming. Although it does turn the controller orange. See, I refuse to put my hand back on my controller before I've licked my finger clean, which is also probably equally as gross because I broke my controller. But I refuse to have an orange controller. I would rather eat the germs than have a bad orange controller.
Mark, please.
We all have to
save
make our
us.
choices in life.
Mark, please save us from this discussion. You're our only hope.
So Cool Ranch Doritos,
Classic.
and I will go with that. Yeah, I'm
Spaghetti
a classic
and
guy.
meatballs.
And do you just put your hand right back on the controller after you eat these Cool Ranch Doritos?
No, sir, I do not.
Good man.
You lick your fingers clean, don't you?
You dang right I do.
Yeah.
And we're back.
And we're back. All right, Ronnie. Go ahead and lead us with an official topic. Thank you, everyone who gave random topics for us to discuss very quick like. We appreciate you contributing to our conversation. So now, Ronnie,
I know, random topic. So
lay it on us.
I got the choice to just talk about anything that I want.
Anything you want, man.
It's free range here. This is what Lucas feels like when he comes up with a topic sometimes. I'm going to breathe this in
How's
for a
it
second.
feel?
Freedom.
Enjoy the
Pretty
moment.
good. Pretty good. You must feel like this all the time.
Yep.
All right, so my
That's how I do
topic...
with my family, friends. I'm like, so, guys, what are we going to talk about today? I've decided what we're going to talk about today, so let's talk.
All right, so my topic revolves around no surprise, public bathrooms or public restrooms. Not to get that confused with actual rooms where people take baths. I do not frequent anything like that.
Do those still exist? Public baths? Like Roman style?
They do in Red Dead Redemption.
All right, fair enough. Digital baths.
All right,
go
so
ahead.
my topic is pet peeves in public restrooms.
Okay.
Now, I think what I want to hear before I give you my list, I gave a top 3 here. I would like to hear your guys' top pet peeve in the public restroom area. We are going to start with Mark.
Top 3. Water everywhere. Everywhere but the dang drain to the sink.
Why is everything wet in there all the time?
Well, have you ever seen, like, especially guys are the worst about this, like, when they wash their hands, and I guess this is with any bathroom, let alone public bathrooms, but when they wash their hands and they're done, to get the water off their hands, they, like, freaking whip their hands. And so, where do you think that water's gonna go? So, you don't need to, like, whip your hands everywhere. You just do a little shake, I guess, and then go get a paper towel or whatever.
Yeah, shaking in
And
general goes a long way in the bathroom.
Just use the electric dryer so you can get the poop particles on your hands. And then shake it.
Mark, going along with your water comment, in the public restroom, there's no excuse for urine all over the seat. Like, put the seat up or sit down. It's so gross when there's pee all over the seat.
That's my number 1.
Is that your number 1? Sorry to steal your thunder.
Spoilers.
I mean, you're just your pet peeves are just liquid in general. Like water everywhere, urine everywhere.
Oh, gross.
It's just disgusting.
Yeah, everything going except where it's supposed to go. And so I don't understand, and I'll get back to my number 2. Number 2. Yeah, I know.
Potty jokes are the worst.
Or the best.
They are the best.
They always leave me feeling flushed.
Hey-o.
Hey-o.
But yeah, so I don't understand. We are grown adults. How do you miss that bad? Like, it's awful. It's like all of a sudden you're turning on like one of those super powerful fire engine fire hoses, and you just lose control of it apparently.
And to add to that, what kind of jerk doesn't clean off the seat after peeing all over it?
Yeah.
What kind of person does that take?
That's because it's not in a public restroom. It's not their problem. At least that's what they think. I don't have to clean this up. It's not my job to clean it up. And I can say that because I was a janitor for 8 years.
Well, I mean, like, you see that stuff on the ground, you're like, do you not know how to use it? You've been using it for like 30 plus years. Get it together, sir.
True that.
Unfortunately, the struggle continues. I have some horror stories. I worked at a university, and I've seen some stuff. It's
someone took a
pretty
number
bad.
2 in the urinal.
Ugh.
Oh yeah.
No,
yeah.
you said what?
Oh yeah. I don't want to get too graphic because I'm
Please
sure
don't.
we kind of want to keep our listeners and.
Seems like we're already there.
Cheetos
Well, no,
on the fingers
I
and
can
controllers
ta-
was bad enough. Now we're talking about poop in the urinal. Come on.
Oh, see, now there's a line that I don't cross. I mean, like, Cheetos, I'll eat those in the bathroom, but I won't. I don't know where I'm going.
Okay.
Cheetos in the bathroom.
I'm gonna tell you this. I'm gonna tell you this story, and for anybody who is very squeamish about this kind of stuff, fast forward the podcast about 30 seconds to a minute.
A minute?
Okay.
Oh, man. All right. Here we go.
Well,
Whoa,
it probably won't be that
longer?
long, so I'd say like 30 seconds.
Okay.
I've seen like where it looks like they were coming in for a landing, and they swung around, and there's like poop on the wall, and yeah, it's that bad.
Swung
yeah, on
around?
the wall.
Were they
Coming in for a landing
finger
like
painting?
from above the stall?
Well, yeah, those are the kinds of questions that I have to ask myself, because how that happens, I have no
How do you
idea.
describe they're coming in for a landing? Like they're what's that?
Like from the
off
top
the
of the
sinker.
stall?
Somebody
It's
open
like
up.
there's-
Somebody open up the stall. I'm coming in. Brrr.
It's like they swung around and like just left a trail. Like it was.
We have gone
It was
off
awful.
the handle here.
You mean like before they could even get properly turned, they just had to
Yeah.
start taking the number 2 everywhere. That's what you mean.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, by the way, my
You have another one. Honorable mention.
no. No, I won't go into any more. But after that, I told you my top three was water everywhere. Number 1 is obviously
Urine everywhere.
bodily fluids everywhere. Number 2 is how the heck do you miss, although I guess this applies to number 1 as well, but how do you miss the big hole in the trash to throw your paper towels and stuff in?
Oh, okay. I see where you're going now.
Oh, I thought you were going somewhere else.
Yeah. So you get the paper towel all over the floor, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Missing them trash cans.
So that's my top 3.
Patrick, what do you have on this one?
Oh, I don't have like a top 3. I have like a top 35,000.
Wow.
So
You really thought about this. You need to spend less
so-
time in public restrooms, my friend.
34,999.
there was a list I had of like 20 plus things that annoys the heck out of me from people that are in the bathroom at work. And it's just like, it's bathroom etiquette. And one of the things that I don't enjoy is when someone tries to spark up a conversation in the bathroom with
Oh
me.
yeah. Yeah.
It's like all it is. You say if you say hi, bye. That's
No.
it. Don't say,
I don't even.
"Hey,
think
how
you
was
should do
your
that.
weekend?" It's like hold on a second. I'm about to pee here. Why don't you hold on a second until we get out, and then we can talk. It's like it's.
What about while you're washing your hands? I feel like that's an acceptable conversation area.
It is like there's a point where you can like when you're washing your hands, but when you're like doing your business, it's like hold on a second. This is
Agreed.
my personal space. You're invading it right now. Slow down.
Yeah, when there's number 1 and number 2 involved, I don't even think there should be eye contact. Like, forget
I
no
agree,
words, no eye
Don't
contact.
do-
Don't look at each other. Like, don't even try to look at me while I'm going to the bathroom. Like, I'm trying to pee
Yeah.
in the urinal.
Look forward.
That
Don't look at
wall
me.
in front
It's
of you,
kinda-
you're supposed to stare at it.
Exactly. You stare at the wall. That's it.
Oh man, yeah.
It's kind of like that one guy that, like, if you're in the one long row of urinals that nobody's using, and that one guy comes right up next to you, it's kind of like that. Like, that's why do you need to why?
Lucas does that, I guarantee it. He sparks up a conversation.
Oh, I'm
he's like, I'm trying to make a connection.
I'm like
here,
Alec Baldwin in what movie is that where he goes up behind the guy and he's like massaging his back while he's going to the bathroom? I don't remember what
movie is
movie
that?
is. Oh, it's Along Came Polly. Did you ever see that movie with Jennifer Aniston?
Oh,
and,
with Ben Stiller?
Ben Stiller.
Yeah.
And his boss always comes up behind him, gives a little massage while he's at the urinal. That's me right there all the time.
I feel like if there's 3 stalls, Lucas is choosing the middle one, regardless of whether anybody is on the
Yep,
end or
give you a
not.
big pat on the back, make some eye contact, and say, "How you doing, my friend?"
Good job, buddy.
Good job, little buddy. Don't forget to flush.
You did
So,
it.
you guys-
You did it, man. You did it.
You guys definitely covered some of my top ones. And the ones I came up with were the ones that I feel like are most excessive and basically the ones that happen the most often and the one that annoys me the most. The first one that happens often is hand washing.
Yeah.
I don't know what everybody's public restroom rules are, but you go to the bathroom, especially in the workplace, and then you wash your hands afterwards. And I'm talking an actual wash, not like I don't know if you ever see those guys that they just put their hands under and it's just like a little bit of water gets on them and
They
they
sprinkle it.
flick the water
Yeah.
off and they're like
I'm
off,
clean.
they're on their way.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not sure if you know this, but the bacteria, like the water, is not just going to wash away everything.
Well,
Soap
actually,
will
it grows more
look-
when you just have water on your hands and you don't put soap or
Right.
anything else on it.
See, these guys are. There's no reason for them to even be washing their hands. They're just. This is just a show to make it look like they wash their hands. But if they just do the water in front of you, they're just basically saying, "Yeah, I know you saw it. I don't care."
Pretty
Well,
much.
if they're doing it in the workplace, it's like, I know you. Why are you not washing your hands? I see you. And then the back of my
Pretty
mind,
sure
I'm
you've
like,
handed me
Yeah,
papers.
I'm never shaking your hand. I'm never
You're
taking
touching the
papers
same
from
things.
you.
Yeah, you're each touching the same things in the workplace. So, yeesh. Yeah, that's not good.
Ugh.
The printer, the door to
Yeah.
the bathroom, the printer, the water fountain, all of it. And I would think, to be honest with you, like, even if somebody normally does not wash their hands at work, you would at least want people to think that you're a presentable human being and you would wash your hands there, just so that they believe then you are a decent person. Anybody else on that?
You would.
I
Yeah.
thoroughly agree. Absolutely.
So then my number 2 is excessive. Yeah, number 2. Excessive noises. So excessive noises in the bathroom. Here's what I'll say. A typical sigh, of relief. Okay, I don't like it, but I'll accept like one sigh at the beginning.
Ah.
But excessive sighs throughout the entire process, that's going way overboard. Right? I don't need to hear how relieved you were this entire
Thank
time.
you, Jesus.
I mean, some guys are just there and they just keep sighing repeatedly.
Raises!
You're like, dude, get out of here with this.
Who does number 2 work for?
You guys talked about no talking already, and I wrote down no talking at the urinals because, like, you have to then straight face somebody if you have to talk at the urinals, and I'm not about making eye contact with people when I'm in the bathroom.
For sure.
True story.
And the last one that I feel like happens all the time at work is, have you guys ever been sitting in a stall next to somebody and you can hear their phone has like the sounds on their keyboard, so like every single click you can hear, and it's just going on repeatedly?
Oh yeah.
To me-
That one drives me crazy.
To me, like, here's the thing.
Mark does this.
Oh no, Mark's one of these guys.
No. Completely the opposite. Here's my thing. Like, I think some of you guys know this about me. I don't know. But I deal with germophobic OCD. Like, I take medication for that. And so, like, obviously all of these things that we've talked about are very difficult for me to deal with. So that's why I told you earlier this is a loaded topic for me. But, like, I just don't get the idea of sitting on your phone doing whatever.
I don't ever
when
sit
you
on
are
my
doing-
phone when I'm going to the bathroom. I hold my phone. Thank you.
Wow.
I thought that's what phones were for.
That's how you text. You butt text.
I've been using it all wrong this entire time.
No.
That's the only time I ever post on our Discord
When
channel.
you're sitting on the pot. Hashtag poop life.
Wow, that makes any comment you've ever made that much funnier. But no, sitting there in the stall or whatever on your phone while you're on your phone, like, to me that is so gross. Like, you are doing all sorts of stuff with your hands in the bathroom stall. Well, you know what I mean. But you know, I don't want to touch my phone at that point until after I've washed my hands. Like, to me that's just gross.
Well, I mean, I feel like you're not really using your hands. Like, you use your hands to pull down your pants to go to the bathroom, but, you know, then if you're just using your phone, it's really no different from you just touching your pants, right? So, kind of just like
Yes.
normal. Are you concerned about the poop particles in the air in there? Is that what it was, more or less?
Well, it's more so like, you know, well, for me specifically, like, I have a hard time with touching like the handles to stalls and stuff like that. So that's a whole different story in itself. But
Because I always feel like I do my business, like, as I'm doing my business, I might have my cell phone out, but before I finish up my business, so to say, I put my phone in my pocket, and then not until after I've washed my hands and walked out of the bathroom, then I will use my phone again.
Yeah, I guess I see where that comes from. I just
Yeah, but you got to
prefer
be careful.
Nah.
With the hand dryer, if the hand dryer's in there and you have your phone out, oh man, you're screwed.
No, that you never
there's-
have the hand dryer and the phone within a meter or 3 feet for those who don't do the metric system of each other. You got to have some distance. Yeah, there's a like a phase where you can use your phone. It's when what Ronnie alluded to. Once you've gone in,
After
you
you've
sat
sat
down, you're sitting there, you have your phone out. Then once you've done what you've got to do, you put your phone away, and then transition
Then you
to the
finish
hand
up.
washing, and
Yeah.
you do not touch your phone in
Don't set
between.
your-
There's no like.
Don't set your phone
Listen.
down on the ground.
No,
Do
oh,
never,
on the
Negative.
ground.
Never do
Oh,
that.
that's disgusting.
There are people that put newspapers and their stuff on the ground, and
Ugh.
their badges on the
Oh.
ground. It's just like
It's
Nothing
like,
should
what
ever
did we
be set
just
on the
talk
ground.
The
about?
bottom of your feet should be the only thing on the ground. That is all.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, that's a whole loaded topic for me in and of itself because yeah, just using any sort of a public restroom for me is kind of been an experience, and I've gotten a lot better about it. But yeah, for me, I don't even touch my phone, period, while I'm in the bathroom.
Fair enough.
But
I can understand that. I try to limit it to where, not a lot of poop particles are going to get on my phone.
Yeah, you want to limit that.
That's usually my main focus.
I feel like we've been talking about poop particles way too much this episode.
All right, well, I don't have any more on poop particles, so we're good there.
Good stuff.
My other one is, have you guys ever been to a restaurant that hands out that has in the bathroom, it has cologne, like mints and gum, or any combination of those?
Oh yeah.
I've only ever
You ever
seen
been-
that in airports, really.
Yeah, airports in Europe. I've been to a number of bathrooms in Europe where they actually have a bathroom attendant that will help you in the hand washing process and will give you mints and all that good stuff.
Do you take the mints from that guy
Oh,
in there?
no.
From the bathroom?
No.
The mint or the cologne?
Stranger danger.
Oh man, after you
Stranger
do your
danger.
business, you're
Are
like,
people taking
I got
this?
my own
You know
gum.
what I need? I need a mint.
I need a
mint
bathroom
after
I
mint.
wouldn't take it even if he knew if I knew
Well,
the guy.
that's
I
been
wouldn't take
sitting
it.
in the bathroom for who knows how long. No.
Yeah.
I would assume the cologne is just bathroom scent.
It's recycled.
What kind of cologne
It's
is
poop
in there?
particles. Cologne is what it is.
What type of mint is this? Urine cake? What?
Oh.
So I don't know if you guys ever listened to Jim Gaffigan. He's a comedian where he's talking about these mints and the cologne or whatever, and he's like, oh, that smells great. He's like, where'd you get that cologne? He's like, bathroom. He's like, oh, where'd you get the mint? He's like, bathroom again. Yes, it's going to freak me out. I would probably pass on all of that. But the thing that is my biggest pet peeve, and nobody's mentioned it so far, and I may just be crazy, and you guys may not even care. When you're sitting in the stall next to somebody, and you have been for some time, right? You guys have both been in there for a few minutes or whatever, and then you're like, all right, you're ready to go. So you start to unroll the toilet paper. Well, then almost right after, you hear the guy next to you unroll the toilet paper like he's going to finish his job at the same time. That drives me insane. Because then, not only have you just sat there and listened to this person's noise and they've listened to yours, then you got to come out and face them in the mirror. And I feel like every time I walk out, the only question I could ask them is, so how was yours? It sounded successful? I don't want to come out and face somebody at the same exact time. I want to stagger it so I'm not seeing anybody.
That's why you wait. If you hear that at the same time, you're like, I'm going to sit here for another 2 minutes.
Have
Wait
you ever
for him
had
to
it to
go.
where they then also wait?
Oh.
Standoff.
Stand off.
I've heard of playground politics. I have never heard of bathroom politics. That is way beyond what I've ever experienced. So sorry, Ronnie. I don't think I've ever.
I hate coming out at the same time as somebody else. I refuse. I'll wait in there all day. But that's pretty much all for me.
All right.
What other random topics do we have? Good luck following that act.
I don't want to follow that. Jeez.
Well, I can go into my topic if you don't mind.
Please do.
I mind.
All right. You mind? Okay. Well, I
Lucas.
won't talk then.
Patrick is
No,
oh.
go ahead, Mark.
So, I was just trying to brainstorm, like, okay, what am I going to talk about? What random topic? And then that's when it came to me. We're going to talk about time travel.
Oh, Mark,
Yes.
funny you should
All
bring up
right.
time travel. Ash Ingram had this to ask to help lead in.
Oh, what? We have a question about time travel?
To help lead you into your topic today. Hey, guys. I hope you're doing good. My question is, if you could time travel and only spend 1 week there, would you go back in time or into the future? Thanks, guys, and have a great day. So, not trying to step on your toes, Mark, but you and Ash are working together. She evidently went to the future and then sent this message to the past to participate in your topic today. So, continue on. We'll discuss Ash's question and, of course, whatever you want to talk about with time travel.
She stole my questions. What the
Was this a random question, like not even knowing we're going to talk about time travel?
That is correct. Thank you, Ash, for that.
Holy
Whoa.
odds.
All right.
Yeah, and I had not even seen that question, so
Surprise.
Ash is on the same page.
How about
pretty
that?
awesome. Okay, so before we actually answer Ash's question, I just want to sort of generally go into the subject of time travel and my fascination with it personally, just because I am a fan of so many different time travel movies, and just the idea behind it, the idea of going back and forth through moments in time, being able to either relive things in your past or witness things you haven't seen and you've never seen before in the future, or
For sure.
meet people.
Yeah.
All that kind of stuff. It's always interested me, and it definitely plays out in the type of movies and television shows and stuff that I watch. Obviously my favorite movie or favorite movie series is the Back to the Future trilogy.
Great
it's
Scott.
probably one of the best. Yes. This is heavy, Doc.
Oh, that was good.
So-
That's actually
That
pretty
was
good.
But that's one of my favorite movie series of all time. They did such an incredible job with the time travel concepts that they unpack in that movie. But movies like that, and obviously I'm a big Doctor Who fan, which, the TARDIS or Tartarus, however you'd like to say it.
It's Tartarus.
Um,
That's how you
it's
should say it.
Tartarus.
So obviously it travels in space and time, and the Doctor is able to go back and forth, not just into to different planets and stuff like that, but at different points in history where in this case now she has met different historical characters. Like this past season, she actually met Rosa Parks and went back during that time, which was a great episode. But just the idea, and obviously Back to the Future, and Doctor Who both, they do such a great job of implementing some sort of device that is intriguing for how they get back and forth in time. Like obviously, with the 80s, the DeLorean was kind of like this sort of novelty car, and they turned it into a time machine because it looks futuristic as all get out, or at least it did back then. And so it was cool to turn that into a time machine. Even Doc mentions it in the movies. I figure if you're gonna build a time machine, you better build it with some style.
Right?
So yeah. But that all being said, what are some of your guys' like favorite shows or movies or books or whatever that deal with time travel?
I think I have a good one. I actually saw this not too recently ago. It was what was it? 11/22/63, that miniseries starring James Franco.
Yes.
Mhm.
That was a good show.
It's about him going back in time to like stop the assassination of JFK. I thought the whole concept of that was awesome, and that miniseries like really like kind of captivated me while I was watching that.
It's cool.
Nice. Yeah, that would be a great thing, because I mean that I'm sure if anybody had a time machine, that would be one of the things they'd want to do is to go back and stop something that was bad that happened. Like I'm sure people would like want to stop 9/11 or the Holocaust or something like that, major tragedies that have happened. So yeah, I mean, anybody would want to do something like that. How about the rest of you?
I think for me, one that maybe outside of the typical, like I love Back to the Future. I like, what is it? One of the Harry Potter's Prisoner of Azkaban, where they do a little time travel and you get in that kind of loop-de-loop.
Yeah, the time turner.
Yeah, you got the time turner, and you just have this like endless cycle of time travel where it makes this loop of crazy stuff happening where they kind of have to rely on their future selves and past selves to kind of work together to solve a problem. But the first one that comes to mind that I like, not just because it's entertaining, but because I feel it's almost the most realistic form of time travel, is Click. You guys watch the movie Click with Adam Sandler?
Yes. I've heard of it. I have not seen it.
So in the movie, he uses a remote control. He gets a remote control from a mysterious figure, and with it, he's able to view the past. He doesn't physically go in the past, but he's able to view any memory from the past, and then he is able to go into the future. Sometimes unknowingly, he skips like portions of his life, and it's actually the whole movie is actually really good, and it teaches a good lesson about like living in the moment. But it feels like to me like the best interpretation of traveling into the future, because the thing I always get stuck on when people do movies and try to be like, let's travel to the future. Well, the second you leave the present to travel to the future, you can't see anything about yourself because you've just disappeared. And the whole idea, the thing that breaks down for me in like Back to the Future, when he goes to the future and sees himself in the future, that's really impossible because he had already gotten in the car in 1986 or whatever year that happened. And so he totally took himself out of that future. And so he actually wouldn't be able to see himself. So in Click, when he travels to the future, it kind of goes into default, and he just all of a sudden is in the future, and he's been doing the things he was doing before. But I really like just how it deals with time travel in a very different way with the movie Click.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Yeah. Patrick, you got any favorite time travel movies?
Oh, yes. So I'm like you, Mark. Anything that deals with time travel, I am all for it. So I'll watch anything that has to deal with time travel. I'll watch Hallmark movies with my wife that has to do with time travel. She knows that when she watches, I don't know, like 50, 100 different Hallmark movies during the Christmas season. And whenever she finds one that has to deal anything with time travel, she says, hey, the new one has come out. Let's watch this one. I'm like, okay, I'm going to watch it. Whether it's like the Christmas one where you do the whole thing where the past, present, future kind of thing. I'll watch those. But one of my favorite, other than Back to the Future, obviously, that's one of my favorite movies of all time, is Hot Tub Time Machine.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh.
I laugh so hard at that movie when they're old and they go through that time machine in the hot tub and go back to the 80s. Oh my gosh. I love that movie. That one, Bill and Ted's when they go through time. A lot of the comedies that have to deal with time, I absolutely love.
Did you get
Absolutely,
real quick an honorable mention to? Did you guys ever watch the old TV show Quantum Leap?
Yes.
It is.
No,
it is quite.
No,
old.
I never watched Quantum Leap.
It is. I really enjoy its take on time travel, where a guy in the future is able to possess the bodies of people in the past and help right people's wrongs and kind of change the past by, like, he's only there for like a short portion of time, and he has like 2-3 days to change someone's past, like help someone from being murdered, or like prevent somebody's death, or prevent someone from ending their relationship. It's actually a really cool show back in the, I think it was late 80s, early 90s, but that was a cool time one too.
I think one movie that you think of Back to the Future, of course, but one of the definitive time travel movies besides Back to the Future and you could argue The Time Machine, the H.G. Wells Time Machine, is the Terminator movies.
For sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Dun, 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 dun. and it's interesting. It's one of those things like we talked about. They're specifically implementing time travel to stop a bad thing from happening. Mainly the creation of Skynet and all that kind of stuff, and the machines basically taking over the world and all that kind of stuff. Apparently, they could not figure how to time travel wearing clothes, though.
That's correct.
Because it seems like every time you go back in time, you got to be naked for some reason. But
you got to be naked and beat up a bunch of bikers and take their clothes.
Part of the adventure.
But yeah, it's always interesting to see how many, like, the different ways that people implement time travel. Like, obviously Terminator, Back to the Future. I think of X-Men: Days of Future Past. Same sort of concept where I think her name is Kitty Pryde. She basically is able to transfer Wolverine and his body into his consciousness in the past, into his body in the past, in order to stop events from happening. So yeah, I just love the different ways that they implement time travel rules, which obviously nothing is set in stone in terms of rules, because we really haven't figured out time travel yet, nor will we probably ever, but that's okay. But so go ahead.
Just one thing to add to that 11/22/63 series. So I listened to the audiobook actually before I saw the actual like mini-series version, and it was interesting because every time they went back in time in that like series, it basically created like a new future. And so every time they went back, they were creating like almost like a wrinkle in time going forward. So there was like all these different like streams of the future that they were like affecting every single time they went back. So I just thought that was an interesting take.
Yeah, it's kind of like the butterfly effect, where if you step on a butterfly in the past, how does that affect things in the future?
Also an interesting time travel movie, The Butterfly Effect.
Oh, yeah, I love that one too. There's two different endings. Did you guys ever see the two different endings?
Yeah,
to the Butterfly Effect?
I actually didn't see the original ending. I saw the director's cut, or the one where he goes back to the day he was born. Spoilers. Oh, I did not like that. That was so dark. That was
a dark.
Oh man,
I didn't see
that
that
was so dark. Without,
I have truth
away.
Be told, I haven't seen Butterfly Effect.
What is it? It's not. We can. Can we spoil it? You think?
We are way past the.
We are, right?
Whatever they call it.
Like
so pretty much
years
this
ago.
guy, just to give the quick version, this guy can go back in time by reading old letters and diaries, like diary entries that he's written in the past. And so by the end of the movie, he screwed up so many things that he reads a diary entry from his mom about the day of his birth, and he's able to travel his consciousness back in time to when he's in his mother's womb, and then he wraps the umbilical cord around himself and kills himself in his mother's womb. The end. That is like the...
Why?
That is like the...
That's...
Because
that's the non-canonical.
Yeah, that's the non-canonical,
ending.
like the director's cut version. That's what I saw, and I didn't realize it, and I was like, this is the worst movie ever. And then I talked to someone like a few days later, and they're like, no, that's not how the movie ends. And I'm like, what version did I get? I didn't like it. It was so dark. And he pretty much just...
It's probably hard to believe he'd have the coordination as a baby.
Yeah, but he had the consciousness. Haven't you ever like imagined like if you could go back in time and like and be in elementary school, but have all the knowledge that you have now? Like you would rock it out.
Everything
like you could
now.
be like a basketball star in elementary school and like be a football star in those little pop leagues or whatever the.
Yeah, he just wouldn't have the motor functions that the adult would have. You'd have the knowledge of how to use it.
But would you? But I mean, wouldn't you have the motor functions if your brain is working?
If you knew you could
well?
do it, couldn't you like help your body like maybe do it faster? Like you would get the motor function faster?
Maybe, but your
I feel like your
muscles
abilities
kinda have
would be
to develop.
severely diminished.
Yeah.
Well, abilities would be diminished, but you would know how to do things.
And you would know what's possible.
know.
That'd be like you could like even in like for example in like a football team, like you would know all of these things, but so you'd basically be able to coach the team, but not necessarily be the star player, if that makes sense.
The coach of the high school varsity is this 11-year-old.
But okay, so all that being said, now we can jump back into Ash's question. So which was basically, if you had the ability to go travel in time, would you go in the past or the future?
That is correct.
For 1 week.
Yeah, you have 1 week.
For 1 week.
Well,
for me,
go ahead.
I think about this all the time. Like with time travel, my love for time travel. I would love to go back to when I was 17. 17 was when a lot of things happened in my life that I have fond memories of.
Was that 1998?
A lot of my high school friends. What, 98? Yes.
Yes, nice.
Yeah, so 1998. And I was... No, hold on a second.
No, that's not right.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2000.
I was like, wait, I'm older than you.
Yeah, so back when I was 17 in the year 2000, that's when I met my wife, when we started dating. It was a time where I didn't have a job. I was just in school. No responsibilities. Everything was quote unquote illegal at that time, so it was a lot of fun during that time. A lot of my friends that I have today were from, that time when I met them. So that was one of my favorite years of my entire life, was when I was 17. And I would absolutely love to go back and relive those moments again and again. It's funny because she asked this question because I knew how to answer it right away, because I think about it all the time. It was one of my favorite years.
Nice. For me, it's a toss-up. It's a toss-up between somewhere in the 80s, just because I would just love to just enjoy what life was like back then. The styles, the music, and all that kind of... I mean, I know I can listen to that stuff now, but it just seems...
windbreakers. Everybody had windbreakers on. That's what it was.
Starter jackets and windbreakers.
No, Hammer Pants was 90s.
It wasn't
80s.
Late 80s?
Want to go 80s?
Was Hammer Pants?
No, it was 90s. Early 90s.
All right, fair enough.
Yeah. But yeah, not necessarily just the fashion trends, but just like, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just the fact that, and we've talked about this on the podcast before, I don't know what it is. Like, I was born in the latter part of the 80s, like the last 2 years of the 80s I was alive. And so for some reason, I kind of have always been intrigued for what life was like back during that period of time. And to have musicians like Michael Jackson and stuff like that in their heyday is just incredible to me. So I would love to do that. Or I would love to go to the 60s and spend a week there and enjoy like when the Beatles were around. And now, granted, there were a lot of horrible things happening in the 60s, but there's horrible things happening in every decade.
Fair enough. Just to let you know, fact check, though not everyone believes Wikipedia, Wikipedia does say Hammer Pants were popularized in the 80s and the 90s. And being the old man in the group, I definitely had Hammer Pants in the late 80s. Thank you very much. Continue on.
Well, they weren't called Hammer Pants back then, I'd say.
Hey, that's my job, Lucas. What are you doing?
Sorry.
What are
you weren't
doing?
Fast enough.
Not on top of it.
Yeah, I guess it was the 80s. Okay.
I would actually piggyback off of Mark, because I took this a different way. It's interesting the way Patrick interpreted the question, which is like go back in his specific life to a time in his life. I took it as going back to just a random time, when you would want to go back. And I just thought it would be, I guess, kind of to take her question a little bit further with her 1 week. I thought it would be really cool to spend just a week in each decade. Starting even at the 20s and 30s and 40s and 50s, just to get an idea of the way of life then and what it was like, just everyday life back then. I didn't think there was a person that I was like, man, I would really love to go back and meet that person. I think I would just really like to see, from a historical standpoint, how life was throughout that time period. If you could spend a week in each decade. But I think if I had to go back to a specific decade, I would definitely go back to the 80s like Mark. They don't make music like that anymore.
No, they do not.
True that.
No, they do not.
So, I was going to say for myself, I thought actually my first thought was going way back. I would want to go to the week of Easter, like of Jesus's his life, his death, his resurrection. Like I would love to witness that. Now I do understand that they did not speak English and they did not speak a language that I would even come close to understanding. But I feel like I've read the Bible enough that I would be able to kind of, guess. Now the problem you run into is I would stick out like a sore thumb, and I would definitely it's quite possible I would mess with the story. And if there was some way to guarantee that, like, I would be able to lay low and just be able to just see Jesus, see the events, kind of like just see how they played out. Like it's not just like a daydream of mine to go back and do that, but like I truly hope that when we go to heaven that there are like theater rooms and you can pick, like, depending on what you want to watch in like super mega HD, the creation of the world, the story of Noah, all the Old Testament stories, like all the different stories that we read about in the Bible. Like I want to see them in HD, like Planet Earth, like with Morgan Freeman, of course, or whoever God wants to narrate it, to see what actually it looked like. That would just be amazing. So that's my first thought of going that far back.
I think that would be hard for me. Like, I totally understand, the significance of the crucifixion and the resurrection. And for me as a believer, that's, vital to me. But at the same time, think about like, the Passion of the Christ, the movie, The Passion of the Christ. And considering that was only like a small taste of the beating, that the suffering that Christ endured, that would just be really hard for me to even sort of take in.
Yeah, but knowing the
but then,
context,
of course, there's a resurrection.
Just knowing the context, it doesn't. It can only make your faith stronger to see that. Like you would truly have the perspective of Peter, of Paul, all those guys who saw what Jesus did. Like the reason they were able to do what they did back in the day and like give their lives without any thought of other is because they saw what Jesus did. And so to see that, like I know I would come back and I wouldn't cry over spilt milk, as the saying goes. Like I wouldn't worry about like, my kids did something, irritating, or someone cut me off in traffic.
Cockroach
crawling on my leg. I would just be like, praise the Lord, hallelujah. I mean, I saw what Jesus did. And like, for me, it's not a matter of I need to see it to believe, but man, to see it would just be so incredible. And, that's something that I've definitely thought about a number of times. But
absolutely. So, okay, one final question, then one final thing to add to the time travel discussion, and then we can move on to another person's topic. But so kind of along that same line, if you could visit a historical figure or a person of significance, who would you go back in time to visit?
Already covered mine. Jesus.
Obviously.
Good to go.
Yeah, I was going to say, Lucas, you kind of covered yours.
2 birds with 1 stone, baby. Efficiency.
No, I like yours, Lucas. I think that would, because I interpreted the question a little differently with my life. But if I were to be able to go back all the way back to 33 AD or 32 AD and see what happened throughout that, and see one, like the struggle and the all the events that occurred, but also 3 days later see what happened. I just feel like that would just be awesome just to see that firsthand. There's only so many times that you can see it in movies or read in books or read through the Bible, over and over again. You hear it, but just to see it firsthand would be absolutely astonishing.
Yeah, for sure. Ronnie, who would you go back to see?
Yeah, when I first read this question, I first thought to myself, there's not a specific person that I would want to go back, and more for me, it would be going back through like periods of time when like events happened that shaped this world. So, kind of like you guys are describing, the whole event of that, not just going back to meet one specific person, but a lot of those throughout history. I don't have any specific examples, but I think actually seeing the events that shape the world, shape our nation, or I think that would be more interesting to me to go back and view.
Like seeing speeches like the Martin Luther King speech or like the Abraham Lincoln speech, things like that really have turned America around, or things like that. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it would be really cool to see stuff like that has happened. That a lot of the pop culture, or now a lot of people that they read in history books that these are the big, huge events that have occurred that have shaped our nation. That would be actually pretty cool. I like that.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I think from a historical standpoint, yeah, it would be really cool to go back and visit the days of the Bible and obviously meet Jesus first and foremost, but and the apostles and all those people who played a crucial role during those times. But the beautiful part is I get to see him in the future.
True
anyway. Yeah. So, but yeah, that would be amazing. But just from a more general standpoint, I would love to go back and be able to meet like the early days, like the younger Beatles when all four of them were still alive. To me, I think that would be just an incredible thing to take in. So if I could, cool. I would do that. So
good deal.
That is my topic. So who would like to go next?
Who's next on the hot seat?
I have a less cool topic.
Why you got to downplay yourself like that? Come on, man.
I see what you did there.
And it's about
and the light bulb comes on.
It's about ice. Not vanilla ice like you're saying. It is about ice, not iced tea like Mark thinks. Just the old water turned into solid ice. So, I need ice in my drinks. I need it to be filled to the brim. I need it to be top to bottom filled with ice. So 2 things. 1, so when I drink from the top of it, it's cold. When I use a straw, it's cold. How do you guys like your ice? Do you guys use ice or do you not?
I will start by saying when we found out what Patrick's topic was, being
I did
ice,
not.
That's literally all he gave us is one word. And
I discovered nothing from his
topic.
I
wrote down I wrote down I like ice. But crushed ice is the best.
I like ice.
You like crushed ice over cubed ice.
I don't like a warm drink, so I do prefer there to be ice in there, unless it's like a Coke from McDonald's in a styrofoam cup, in which case you don't even need ice.
I can't get on the bandwagon with either of you guys. For one, filling the cup with ice from the bottom to the top. If you do not drink your drink within the first minute, that ice is going to start diluting your drink like nuts. So, like,
wait,
let me finish, young man. Listen to Grandpa. I have something to say. Respect your elders. Listen, you're going to dilute your drink, and it's not going to taste as pure. And then going along with the crushed ice, I do not like how when you use crushed ice, it all floats to the top and forms this layer that quickly turns into like a lid. Like the cubed ice always leaves like a little crevice for you to put your straw. And I just like to use probably a 1/4 cup of ice to go with mine. That's plenty to make it cold enough. I don't need to make my teeth hurt, my dentures hurt, that kind of thing. So that's where I stand.
All right, Grandpa. So when you have ice, you don't say it's water.
Right.
You're not gonna dilute water with water.
Okay,
so
that's
does it matter?
One drink. For one, I don't drink water.
So
I do drink water.
So do you throw ice? What about ice in orange juice? So I've seen, when you go to a local restaurant, sometimes they put ice in the orange juice and sometimes they don't.
No.
what is your preference in there?
No.
No ice in your orange
Juice should be juice. It should not be diluted. It should be pure, as God intended it.
Like
Yeah, but warm orange juice is terrible.
I mean, yeah, that's true. It's not good. I'll put like just like
So
one
you-
piece of ice, and then I'll stir it around until it melts, and then
We broke them down.
okay. Yeah.
Here's what I will say. Generally speaking, I am a non-ice kind of person when it comes to drinks and stuff.
Anti-ice.
I am anti-ice because for one thing, like it makes for me, my teeth are kind of sensitive to cold stuff, so like it makes it like really cold, and I have a hard time.
I'm with you,
that.
brother.
If it has ice in it, I need a straw. Basically.
Oh yeah, because then you have to
it's-
put your lips over your teeth and drink it like this,
Yeah,
and that's
not a-
really weird. People
not
don't
a
like
fan.
that. I did that all the time
Not
when
a
I was a
fan of
kid
that.
because it hurt my teeth so much.
And
Don't you guys like to eat the ice as you're drinking
Oh,
the
that's
drink,
awful.
Negative.
That hurts
I
my
prefer
teeth.
that.
That hurts my teeth.
No.
thinking about it.
Negative.
though? Oh, I do the
Oh.
entire time I'm drinking the drink.
You Negative
Yeah, you do
Ghost
that,
Rider.
and it hurts my teeth just hearing it.
Yeah, like
Oh,
You guys and your weak teeth, I guess.
But also, generally speaking, unless you're getting it from like the store, and if it's been sitting out or whatever, like sodas and stuff like that, usually like if it's like a restaurant or whatever, and you're getting it from like the fountain or whatever, typically that's refrigerated.
it's already cold.
It's not like
True that.
It's not like super ice cold.
sure.
But it's already refrigerated. So to me, that's okay. That's cold enough for me. And thirdly, it makes me think of. Have you guys ever heard of Dimitri Martin? He's a comedian.
He's my
Dimitri
cousin.
Yes.
Martin. Okay,
Yes.
so it makes me think of like whenever you try to tip the cup up and the ice is like hold.
Oh, and it hits you in the face. Oh gosh, that's the worst. And you're like,
No, you got to casually like
You
shake the
do.
drink before
You
every
do.
drink, just to get the loosen
I
up
can't
the
tell you how many
ice.
times I've tipped the cup back and be like, it's gonna stay. It's gonna right in my face, like just all over me. It's the worst.
See, you guys need to get one of these things that it's
Steady now.
Yeah, you guys gotta get one of these turvises that like holds the water cold.
Did you say
for,
Tartaruses?
Like 10 hours.
Is this the Tartaruses?
Yes, this the Tartarus cup. Yeah, you got to get this. That keeps it all cold. If this ice has been
Just so we're clear, nobody can see that that's listening to this. You just keep saying this.
This here. This
Yeah,
here.
get this.
A
A thermos
one of
like
these
this.
things here.
I forgot. No one's watching this.
Good call, Grandpa. Let's explain how technology works, okay? So, we're a
Where's the
podcast.
any key? I don't see that anywhere.
Let's
For
screenshot
those-
this now and post it somewhere.
For those listening right now, Patrick is currently holding an orange thermos.
No, it's a Tartarus. Orange
It's like a Yeti
Tartarus.
cup.
Yeah, it's a Yeti cup. It's a Yeti cup. These things you can find them anywhere.
Now,
The big ones.
Mark, to get us back
Big
on
old
track with the
cup.
ice thing, I will say, and this is actually, it's not a confession, but to go actually in support with Patrick and Ronnie in the ice thing, with pop, I do usually have to put a few pieces of ice in order for it to fizz a little bit and dilute, because I find that pure pop burns the throat a little bit going down. So
See, I'm
I
okay
like
with
to
that.
I like to kind of dilute it a little bit so it doesn't burn so much. My son, he is so sensitive to pop that he still will not. He's 6 years old, and he has yet to enjoy a good like glass of Coke or anything. Like the times we've had him try it, be like, hey, why don't you try it this time? He's like Gollum, and he's like, it burns. Like he goes nuts. He's like, it hurts us, precious. Why does it hurt us? That's what he acts like all the time. It's ridiculous.
So, Lucas, you said pop. Does everyone here say pop or soda pop?
I do not say pop.
What do you say?
I say soda.
So we generally say pop here in our area, Patrick. But I did find out a long time ago. My stepbrother lives in St. Louis. Him and his family, and they come in like a couple times a year or whatever. And every time we say pop, they basically all like start giggling, like we're just a bunch of hillbillies that say pop.
What do they say? They say soda?
They say soda.
That's weird.
They think pop is like the most redneck thing ever.
I wouldn't say that. I mean, I've heard it said before because originally it was called soda pop. So either way, you're not wrong. Now, my my grandfather, I remember he would always call any kind of soda tonic, which is weird because
Tonic is tonic.
You think like tonic
gin
water,
and tonic,
like
yeah.
seltzer water. Yeah. But yeah, he would basically refer to any sort of soda as tonic.
Now here,
I'm gonna start doing that
let
from
me.
now on.
Hey,
You guys want to go get some tonic?
I want to share the
Pick-
word for pop or soda in Brazil, and let me tell you, I wish I could say soda or pop here. It's refrigerante. It's literally a
Pop is way
refrigerant.
easier.
They call pop a refrigerant. So now they do sometimes will say hefty to shorten it, but it still is like, man, can I just get a pop? Give me a Coke. Like it just. I remember the first year I was here, I was like, I would like a refrigerante. Like I would just hack it up. I'd be like Coca, just Coca-Cola. Give me a Coca-Cola. I don't care. So, yeah, it's
Wow.
much more complicated here for pop.
Well, that's it. That's it for my ice topic.
Ice topic.
Lucas,
All right. Well, to wrap things up,
what do you got
guys,
for us?
I wanted to talk about our very first memories, or the very first memories that impacted our lives or that we thought were significant. I'd really like us to share the earliest possible memory we can think of, but sometimes that's difficult. So if you need a little encouragement on thinking of a memory, it can be your very first memory of a family member. It could be very first memory of a friend. For me, my very first memory is when I was 4 years old. And it's my first memory of my mom as well. But I was at my grandma's house, and she had a dog named Flaxton, and he was a cute little guy that was kind of like a larger terrier mix. And he was going to eat his food for the evening, and I decided that I was going to pretend that I was also going to eat his food as well. And when I did that, he did not appreciate me getting close to his food, and he started to growl at me. Well, me being 4 years old, I thought he wanted to play a game, so I decided to growl back at him and proceeded to get closer to his food. And I think my mom saw me doing this to the dog and immediately grabbed me, because right when she grabbed me, it was like a slow motion movie, and the dog went to bite at my face, and my mom grabbed me and picked me up and put her in her arms, and she proceeded to kick the dog, and then I giggled because
Yeah, it's a dog's fault.
it was the
Jeez,
dog's fault.
Lucas.
I was 4 years old, okay? I did understand that it was my fault, but, what are you going to do? You're 4 years old. So that was my very first memory. How about you guys? Who has a first memory they want to share?
My very first memory. I was also 4. It was my 4th birthday, and I remember. I only remember 2 gifts though. The first gift that I remember was I got a red tracksuit, and I'm like, I don't know what I got clothes for my birthday. But then the second gift that I opened was a Ghostbusters proton pack.
Nice.
And
Yeah!
I put yeah, so I got the backpack and everything, and the gun that came along with it. It had a big, huge, long yellow foam piece
Lucky.
that you stuck in the front of it, and then you had that little gun trigger that made that sound
Oh yeah.
So
That's classic.
yeah, I remember that was my first memory of playing with a Ghostbusters proton pack. I was so pumped with that one.
I have fragments of memories from when I was very young. I can go pretty far back. I want to say I had to have been 2 or 3, and I think it was one of my birthdays, and we were in my grandmother's backyard. And I just have this vision, this picture in my head of all these people in the backyard, and I want to say I was in some sort of I don't think I would have been in a high chair, so I'm not sure. It's some sort of a fragment of a memory of one of my birthdays, and then I have memories of going to the movies. I remember going to the movies with my grandmother to go see the movie Homeward Bound.
Oh, classic.
Do you remember that movie?
Yeah. Love that movie.
Yeah, I remember seeing that in the theater, and it was like a cheap like $2 theater, so like Homeward Bound had already been out for probably like 6 months when we went there, and I remember the floor was like sticky as all get out, but yeah,
those
like I
people
said,
coming back from the bathroom.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And that made the grossest sound where it's just like your foot. Oh, that was, yeah.
It's like somebody gorilla glued the ground.
That's where they actually got Gorilla Glue to make it. They just scrape it off
they
there.
Just scraped it off the ground in the movie theater.
They sell it at Lowe's.
That's an interesting theory.
The origin of Gorilla.
So my earliest memory is I remember my dad teaching me how to tie shoes, how to tie like a knot for shoes. And I remember sitting down in front of him I was really young. I don't remember the exact age that I was, but I think the reason that it stuck out in my head is my dad's shoe was gigantic. Like it was like the shoe of like Godzilla when I was younger, right? Just this massive shoe. You're like, whoa, like this is awesome. So I'm like learning how to tie on this really giant shoe. And it's funny and it's funny now in retrospect because his foot is like an 11.5, which is a pretty large shoe, but like my shoe is like I wear a 13, like sometimes a 14 depending on like the actual brand of shoes. So, but back then like it was this massive shoe. Like when you go to the shoe store and you see this like big dummy shoe, which is like a size 25. Like that's what it looked like to me, like when I was a little kid. So I think that's why it always stood out. This is a really big shoe, trying to learn how to tie shoes.
That's funny. Yeah, one of my other memories, my first memories, was of my dad also. And I remember when I was really little, we would, play wrestle. And I remember one of the first times he let me win. But in the moment, I thought I had actually beaten him. Like I had held him down and, he had given up. And I was like, yes. And it wasn't, I think it was years later. I was just thinking about that memory, and all of a sudden, like, the light bulb came on, and I'm like, he let me win. I didn't actually beat him. And I think I confronted him, and I'm like, did you let me win? He's like, son, are you serious? And I'm like, I thought I won for real. Like, I never had the, finding out that Santa Claus isn't real and, finding out the Tooth Fairy isn't real. Those were never shocks to me. Like, there was always a part of me that thought that, they weren't real. And sorry for those that are listening with their kids and I hope I didn't, give any spoilers to someone. So, anyways,
you definitely did.
Probably did. Scarred for life. You're welcome.
So going back to Ash's question, if you want to go back in time before you knew that Santa wasn't real.
Yeah, that's pretty much where I would go. But yeah, that's one of my earliest memories of Dad. Another memory that I wanted to see if you guys could remember. Do you guys remember the first day of school? And if you do, what do you remember from that first day of school?
I remember I had a Flintstones backpack, and I remember walking down to the bus stop. And the funny thing is, like, I didn't even like the Flintstones all that much, and for some reason I had a Flintstones backpack. But and then I don't remember actually going to school. I do have a brief memory. I don't know, for some reason my memory is really fuzzy from when I was little. For some reason, I don't know why, but I remember briefly like sitting in my classroom and listening to the morning announcements or whatever. And then I remember coming home and I had this notebook that my mom had gotten me for school, which is funny because like first graders don't take notes. So I don't know why I needed a notebook, but I came in the house and she's like, so do you have any homework? And I was like, oh, and I thought I was in trouble because I thought I was supposed to have homework and we didn't have homework at all. So I was like, yeah, I've got homework. And so I immediately went to that notebook and like scribbled some sort of nonsense. And I was like, I did it. I did my homework.
Nice.
I don't remember anything about my first day of school. The only thing, oddly enough, I can remember is like the layout of my kindergarten classroom.
Oh yeah.
Like I can't even remember my teacher's name from kindergarten, but I can remember the layout of that classroom. Like for whatever reason, that memory sticks in my head.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember my first day of school either. I do remember, like you said, the layout of my classroom. There were a couple people who were in my kindergarten class that I graduated with in high school, but man, I can't remember, those kindergarten days.
Yeah, for me, the first day of kindergarten and the first day of first grade, like the first day of real elementary school. Like kindergarten for me was in a separate school, and it was actually only like a 5-minute walk from my house. And so I remember that first day, my friends and I with our moms, we walked to the school. It was like 5-10 minute walk. And I remember my mom bawled her eyes out. And it was like out of a Hallmark movie, just like, don't go, I'm going to miss you so much. And I was like, okay, Mom, I'm going to go now, bye. And like pretty much the neighbor ladies had to like drag her away. It was a very dramatic moment. But I remember so vividly meeting my like school friends that I had through most of, elementary, middle school, and high school. I met a couple of the boys, and we immediately hit it off. We started building a structure with blocks, and one of these girls walked up and knocked our block structure down and just said, "You're stupid," and then ran away. And I immediately knew that girls had cooties and that girls were evil from that point on until about middle school.
And then you
I
married
a
one.
girl. And then I remember
In middle school? Jeez.
Yeah, it lasted that scarred me. I did not like girls. No, actually, that's not true. I liked girls in second or first grade. But anyways, in first grade,
Nice.
another topic of discussion for later, my first crush. In first grade, I remember the first day of school because I rode the wrong bus to go home. And I wound up taking the bus to my dad's business that he was doing renovations on a building he had just bought to open up a pharmacy. And I landed there, and my dad was like, "What are you doing here, son?" And I'm like, "I rode the wrong bus." And he's like, "Your mom's going to have a heart attack." And I'm like, "I hope not." Well, what's funny is my neighbor at the very same time was filming her son coming home from first grade, and I was supposed to be there. And so my friend Matt gets off the bus, and my mom's there, and you can hear my mom in the background go, "Where's Lucas?" and my friend Matt's just like, "I don't know, he didn't get on the bus." And she's like, "Oh my gosh!" And she yells and runs off and gets in the car. And she eventually tracked me down, but it was very momentous and traumatic experience for my mom. Both first days of school, kindergarten and first grade.
It's funny you say that because now that I'm older, I know that my mom on my first day of school followed the bus.
Are you serious? She stalked you? That's hilarious.
Yeah, she did. She did. She was really freaked out, so she followed the bus in her car the whole ride to school. She said when she got home, she just sat in the driveway and she was all sad and cried a little bit. But yeah, it is funny. Apparently, she followed the bus the whole way. That is
funny.
So.
Well, I really love memories. I love talking about memories. I met a person, I know a couple people that they don't have any memories before like 13 or 14 years old. And so I cherish like all the memories I have. And so I think it's fun sometimes to talk about such things. But guys, this was our very first potpourri of topics, talking about random stuff, whether it's bathrooms, time travel, ice, or our first memories. We've just talked about it and survived it.
That
That
randomosity.
was some good stuff. So as we wrap things up, as we get to the end, do you guys have any final thoughts, inspirational thoughts, dad jokes, music to share? Marc Boucher, what do you got for us to close things out?
All right, guys. So got 3 songs to add to the Good Morning Guys morning playlist. That is the name of the playlist. You have to specifically type in the Good Morning Guys morning playlist because I know somebody had asked about that. You can look that up on
Sheldor.
Spotify. Hi, Sheldor. So the 3 songs that I have to add tonight are, first of all, Led Zeppelin's Immigrant Song, which I don't know if you guys know that song. If you heard it, you'd probably know it. It's that
Oh yeah, Snow White's theme from Shrek 2. I love that song.
Yes, and they also used it in Thor Ragnarok. So I figured it was fitting since you and I are playing God of War, and that song's all about Vikings and Norsemen.
Yep.
That I would throw that in there. And then the other ones are just kind of random songs that I like to fit our randomosity.
Can you put some Vanilla Ice in there too, in honor of Patrick?
I will make sure to add Vanilla Ice. I can't believe I'm adding him to the playlist.
I would prefer it to be Go Ninja Go, but you can do whatever Vanilla Ice song.
Yes.
We can do Go Ninja Go.
Sweet.
Okay. So in addition to Led Zeppelin and Vanilla Ice, I'm going to add Jason Mraz's song You and I Both. That's just a nice little song. And the last song I'm going to add is the song that has probably the most epic drum part in the history of all songs. And that is the song In the Air Tonight by Phil Collins.
Nice.
So it's just like that one moment, the ding 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 ding. Everybody's doing that. They're pretending to play the drums in that moment every time you hear that. So
like Mike Tyson in The Hangover.
Yeah.
Enjoy those additions, and I hope you guys are enjoying the Good Morning Guys morning playlist.
All right.
Anybody else?
I have one dad joke.
Yeah, bring it.
And it's going to be a little taste of the kind of dad jokes you're going to hear on my Overwatch stream. So do you know who Lucio is? He's the character in Overwatch that is the music man. He rides around on roller skates, and he has a lot of emotes he has to do with music. So here's a dad joke. Why is Lucio not allowed in the produce section? Because he's always dropping beats.
Oh!
Ho! I love beets. They're so tasty. All right.
That's it.
Fair enough. Well, that's all we have for this good morning. Hope you'll join us next week when Ronnie will probably disappoint us for the 10th time. Patrick will execute some fake news, and Marc will sing us a song. At least I hope.
Spoiler.
Spoiler alert. Remember, there are a number of ways to go beyond listening. You can connect with us as a podcast on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, The Good Morning Guys, or the GMG Podcast. Beyond that, we look forward to talking at you again next morning, or the next week, in the morning, afternoon, evening, or night on podcast services around the globe. Pat, Marc, and Ronnie J, and you listeners, our friends and family, go get your good morning this week. May God bless and guide your lives as you live, work, and game. May neighbors respect you, trouble neglect you, the angels protect you, and heaven accept you. Until next week, bottom of the night to ya.
1, 2, 3, 4.
I was hoping you would say that. You need to redo that and say it in an Irish accent. Redo.
Right, I can redo. That's fine, because I totally jacked up like half of what I said. So,
and I totally forgot that thing I was going to say about Ronnie involving Superman.
What's that?
Yeah.
Oh, you
it's
did.
kind of too late now.
It is a little late.
It's kind of...
Too late.
It was the fact that the 40th anniversary of that movie coming out was on
You missed
Saturday.
an opportunity, Ronnie. Extra disappointed in you. Shame, shame, we know your name.
What anniversary is it?
It's the 40th anniversary of the.
That's
the
good. I
movie
was shooting for the
Superman.
41st anniversary, actually.
Fake news. You're going for the 50th. All right. Have a moment of silence, and then I'll start with, well, that's all for this good morning.
You don't need to do it. It's fine.
Come on. No, I've already sucked myself out. I have to do it. All right, here we go.
Okay.
Well, that's all for this good morning. Remember, there are a number of ways to go beyond listening. Connect with us as this podcast on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, The Good Morning Guys or the GMG Podcast. Beyond that, we look forward to talking at you again next week in the morning, afternoon, or night on podcast services around the globe. Pat, Mark, Ronnie J, and you listeners, our friends and family, go get your good morning this week. May God bless and guide your lives as you live, work, and game. May neighbors respect you, trouble neglect you, and the angels protect you, and heaven accept you. Until the next week, bottom of the night to ya.
Yeah, totally killed that one.
There it is.
That was a good one.
That was a good one. Yeah.
That's a keeper.
We will keep it. We'll keep it.